Hi, everyone. Welcome to Orca's Hilo event. We have the four February 2023 Spring Winter High-Low Orca authors. That was a mouthful. So I'm going to say hello to everyone, and then we're going to get going. We're going to watch a video first about what high-lows are, but we have Gail Anderson-Dargatz. She wrote Bigfoot Crossing, but has many other high-lows in the catalog. We have Brooke Carter. Hers is Star Eaters. Loved it, Brooke. I actually got it in time to read it for the event. So really happy about that. And we have MJ McIsaac, which is Countdown. And I'm Paul Coccia. I wrote I Got You, Babe.
Hello and welcome to High-Low 101. My name's Olivia and I'm part of the team at Orca Book Publishers. And I'm excited to talk to you all today about our high-low books. High-low stands for high interest, low reading level. These are books specifically written and designed for striving readers who are reading below grade level. At Orca, we have a huge selection of high-low books, but I want to share what makes our books in particular ultra readable and accessible for all types of readers. From their very inception, our authors bring exciting, action-packed stories with relatable characters that grab readers from the very first page. Together with our editors, they refine and distill these stories into high-low format. That means straightforward and action-packed plots, shorter sentences, and simpler vocabulary without losing that high interest element of the story. Orca also pays extra attention to the design of the books themselves. We use a larger font size, increased spacing between the words and lines, a dyslexia-friendly font, and we print the books on cream paper to reduce contrast, all in an effort to remove any barriers or stopping points for the reader. At Orca, we have three main series of high-low books: Orca Currents, for middle grade readers reading between a second and fifth grade level; Orca Soundings, for teens reading between a second and fifth grade level; and finally, our newest series, Orca Anchor, for teens reading below a second grade level. And now, without further ado, it's time to say hello to high-low.
Hey everyone. Before I start talking here, you'll see I posted a link in chat to a blog on how to write and publish high-low books. I'll post it again after I finish my short reading, but to get there, go to my website, gailandersondargatz.ca, and click on Resources for Writers and then Publishing. You'll see the featured blog is on writing high-low books for the educational market. So it's really worth checking out. It talks a bit about what high-low books are and, of course, how to write and publish them. Okay, so a little about me and my new book. I'm the author of over a dozen books, including The Cure for Death by Lightning, A Recipe for Bees, which were both finalists for the Scotiabank Giller Prize. My most recent novels are The Almost Wife and The Almost Widow, which is coming out in May, and they're both thrillers. I also write short novels for striving readers, these high-low books, including Orca Currents titles Iggy's World and The Ride Home, which was shortlisted for a BC and Yukon Book Prize. And here's another one of those high-low books, Bigfoot Crossing. In the Shuswap region of BC, I grew up hearing stories about Bigfoot or Sasquatch. My parents, who were sheep ranchers, spent a lot of time in the mountains, and there they told me they sometimes heard strange ape-like hoots and calls. My dad was a real mountain man and knew everything about the animals in the region. These calls, he said, weren't like any animal he knew of. He felt it might well be Sasquatch. And the father of a friend of mine actually saw a Sasquatch cross the railway tracks. In fact, Bigfoot or Sasquatch is just a part of life here in BC. Right in the village where I live, there's a Bigfoot crossing sign that I actually use on a path all the time, so I guess I'm a Bigfoot. And as I was walking in my local park one day, I came across a sign tacked to an outhouse. It was titled BC Forest Service Bulletin, Sasquatch Alert. You can see that poster up on my social media accounts now. So was that poster real? No, it was somebody's idea of a joke, a take on common notices about what to do when encountering wildlife in the area. But it made me laugh, and I knew I had the start of a novel that I would eventually call Bigfoot Crossing. So here's a sample of it. In this section from chapter 2, Jay and his dad are out Bigfoot hunting, and Jay isn't happy about it. He has to carry his little sister Rose, and now his dad, who kind of looks like a Bigfoot himself, wants to make a Bigfoot call to attract a Sasquatch. If anyone at school gets wind of Dad doing a Bigfoot call, I'll never hear the end of it, and I can count on Rose for that. She'll tell her little preschool friends, who will tell their middle school brothers and sisters, who will follow me around school going, "Woohoo," Dad shouts. "Seriously, Dad, you can't." "Woohoo," he calls again, all friendly and eager. "Woohoo." Rose stirs on my shoulder. "What?" she asks. For a panic moment, I think she's going to wake right up, but then thankfully she slumps on my shoulder and starts to snore again. "This is nuts," I mumble. But then there's that sound of a stick banging on a tree, and it's close. "There it is again," Dad cries. We both listen, and then, sniffing, I ask, "What is that smell?" It's sort of like old cheese or toe jam. You know, that cheesy stuff you get between your toes after you've been camping for a week without a shower or clean socks. Whoa, now the smell is way worse. "Is that a skunk?" I ask. Dad raises his nose in the air. "That may well be Bigfoot," he says, excited. He waves a hand in front of his face and grins. "Whew, that really smells. It stinks." I've never seen him happier. "Bigfoot stink?" I ask, pinching my nose. "You mean they never take a bath?" "Many apes are afraid of water," Dad says. "Chimpanzees are, although there is that one interesting group of chimpanzees that likes to splash in jungle pools. The same troop also learned to hunt with spears." "Okay, okay," I say, interrupting Dad. His lectures on primate behavior could last all night. Dad cups his hands to his mouth and makes the Bigfoot call again. "Woohoo!" And then from the bush I hear the weirdest sound ever. It's sort of like Dad's call, but more like hoot hoot, and way deeper. Whatever's making this sound is big, and the creature is close enough that the hairs on the back of my neck rise up. "Is that a bear?" I ask. Dad shakes his head. "Jay, that is a Bigfoot. We finally found a Sasquatch." He makes another call. "Woohoo!" And the creature roars back, "Hoo! Hoo!" Not far away, a small tree crashes down as something huge thunders over it. Dad pulls his arm out against to protect us and steps back. Whatever he sees through those night vision goggles scares him. "Oh no," he says.
So I'm Brooke Carter. I've written a bunch of books for teens and young people. My 10th book comes out this fall. It's a middle grade book called Ghost Girl. But this book, Star Eaters, is my 8th high-low, I think. But it's my very first ultra low reading level book. It's the first one that I've written that is at a grade 1 level. And I have to say, after writing a bunch of these, it was probably the hardest one I've ever had to write. One might not think that an 8,000 word book is difficult to write, but it took me a long time. And I think part of that is because it's a sci-fi novel, and there's a lot of world building that has to happen in a short period of time. But of course, with high-low at this level, you can't use flashback or other kinds of experimental structure. So that meant a straight ahead narrative that takes place in a very short period of time, and that has quite a fast pace. But one thing that I like to keep in mind is that there are real teen readers on the other end of the equation, and they need those fast books to keep them interested and to make it accessible, which is why we're here. So the reason I wrote this book is that I've always been really interested in themes of displacement and the idea of how the places we're from shape us and our sense of belonging. There's a touch of romance in the book, but it's mostly about friendship and found family. It follows an orphaned teen named Destin, who is a star eater, a person who is owned by an evil intergalactic corporation called the Iris Corp. And his job is to steal energy from suns for the very people who stole the sun that orphaned him in the first place. He hates doing it, but he loves the freedom of his raider ship. He fears Iris, but one day he gets a stowaway aboard his ship, and that makes him question everything. So I'll just read the first few opening pages because I feel like they speak to the theme and Destin's character. Chapter 1. What world is this? Destin said. He had been talking to himself more and more. He hadn't seen anyone else in a long time. He was all alone, and there wasn't anyone on this planet. His scans had turned up no life forms. He stood on the loading ramp of his small starship. He stared in wonder at the land. This planet was green and lush. Trees and grass and flowers sprang up all over. There was a large lake with bright blue water and mountains with real snow on them. Epic, Destin said. What world, what kingdom, what shores? Words floated in his mind. They were bits and pieces of old books he'd read. He'd found the books stashed in a locker at his bunk. Whoever had used the ship before Destin had left them there. The Iris Corp, his owners, did not allow him to own books. They didn't like their fleet knowing too much. So Destin had only ever read books about flying and tech and star maps. He could get in a lot of trouble for having the old books. But this was a one-pilot starship, made to carry only one raider. It wasn't that hard for Destin to hide them. Raider, Destin thought. How he hated the name Iris had given young pilots like him. It was a raider's job to search the galaxy for energy to steal from distant stars. The best energy came from the suns of small planets. Their energy could be taken by the Star Eater tech aboard a raider's ship. A small sun could fill the energy cells all the way up, so Destin would only have to make one trip. He'd steal the energy and then carry it back to base. Done. Iris didn't like it when their raiders went off course, and they really didn't like it when raiders left airspace to visit planets. Destin was never supposed to set foot on the ground. He was trained to stay on his ship at all times. All Iris cared about was the energy. They didn't care about Destin. He could die out in space and they'd just replace him. But he'd still decided to break all the rules and visit this planet. What kind of danger was out there in the green trees? It was unsafe enough to land, but to stand there with the door open, very risky. He wasn't even sure what he'd meant to do, take a peek, but then he'd seen how pretty it was. It was a land he'd only ever seen on screens or in his dreams. And the sunlight shone down over everything. It was this light that made him walk to the edge of the ramp. His toes were inches from the ground. Destin took a deep breath and stepped forward. And that was it. He'd done it. He was standing on a strange planet in the sun. He turned his face to the sky. It was so warm and so bright. When he looked away, tiny orbs of light danced in front of his eyes. He'd trained to eat sun since he was a small child. He'd flown short missions since he was 15. And now he was a pilot of his own raider ship at 17. But he'd never felt the warmth of a real sun on his face.
I had to get dressed up for the evening because we are going to be going into a share moment. So my new book is called I Got You, Babe. Now, I Got You, Babe is the shariest book of gliterature out there. And since I made up the word gliterature, I can use as much as I want and claim that. So what happens in I Got You, Babe? We're talking about a young boy, Mac, who decides that he's an icon, but the world hasn't quite caught up to him. So he is deciding to turn the school's fun fair into a pride fair. And he's going to be the star of this fair by doing a Sonny and Cher routine. And he wants his best friend to just go along and play Sonny to Cher. except he never actually stops to consider that she may not want that. And now I'll be reading a short section of it. So our main character, Mac, is unveiling his plans to his best friend, Amy. What's behind the sheet? Amy asks. Our winning routine. When it drops, she sees the glory. Some people make vision boards. I had to take the entire wall, a share wall. And because share is a huge deal, I need an equally huge space. Between the pictures of her in her iconic outfits, there are charts detailing the talent show number I thought up. Every step noted in order, how they line up with the lyrics, the sketches of our costumes. At the top of the wall, as high as I could reach, I've taped a picture of Cher in a gold-beaded halo. It's like the goddess of pop is looking down on us and blessing whatever we do in her name. The garage cement floor has been taped off in a big red rectangle. I even added X's and arrows with blue painter's tape to indicate directions. Before Amy can say anything, I continue. Cher came to me. Cher is what's more than epic. Exactly what I was looking for. She's iconic. Decades of hits, tons of awards, the coolest, most beautiful outfits. She's everything. Cher is life. Amy looks from the floor to me. None of this explains what you want to do for the talent show. We do a duet, a classic. Sunny and Cher's I Got You, Babe. The judges will love it. It's retro. It's fun. It's cute. It will be a shining flower power, peace, love, and Cher act. We'll be the stars of the show. That sparkling crown is mine. Okay, time for practice. Amy shakes her head. I don't know. I didn't really want to do the talent show to begin with. I told you that. Don't worry, I'm doing the heavy lifting. You'll be there more as support than anything. I'll get most of the attention. Why's that? She asks. Because I'm here. I'm sure. Now, I Got You, Babe was inspired by my younger brother, who in grade 8 with his best friend decided to do a Sunny and Cher routine. And of course, he was Cher. Now, luckily, she's a bit of a diva too. So the two of them got on really well, and there was room for two divas. And that is I Got You, Babe. And I hope you pick it up and enjoy it.
Hi, I'm Megan. I wrote Countdown, and I've written a few titles for Orca, including Alien Road was my last one, Underhand and Boil Line, which were part of the sports line. But Countdown is my first anchor book, and I was really excited to try writing at this different reading level and sort of experiment with what I could do. And from that, I decided to try and write a story entirely in text message. And that's what Countdown is. It's a story told entirely in text message, and it's about Golden Boy Miles, who is great at everything. He's got, amazing grades, a cool girlfriend, he's popular, and it's sort of a situation where what could possibly go wrong? And on the day of graduation, he's valedictorian, because of course he is. And when he is working on his speech, he gets a text message from someone he doesn't know. And I'll just read from that moment when he gets that first message. Hey, Miles. Attachment is sent. What the bleep? Hello. Who is this? Just call me O. Where did you get this picture? This could be a big problem for you, Miles, don't you think? What, no snappy comeback, Wonder Boy? Who is this? So Miles was at that party, the rugby one where those poor freshmen were hazed. Is this Danny? Why are you doing this? That's right, Danny was one. And there were two more there. What were their names? Danny, this isn't funny. I'm not Danny. My name is O. Is this a joke? Why are you doing this? I guess you don't remember. Let me help you. Where did you get this picture? You lied, Miles. You said you weren't there that night, which is strange. Wouldn't the captain of the rugby team be at the rugby party? But you said you didn't go. Lucky Miles. Your friends were not so lucky. Declan, Viraj, Mike. They got kicked out of school, but not Miles, because Wonder Boy wasn't there. Smart, cool, dependable Miles. Let's take a look at that pic again. What do you want from me? What will everyone think when they find out you lied? What do you want? I want to play. This isn't a game. This is my life you're messing with. Ah, but it is a game, Wonder Boy. My game. So listen up. I've planned a little scavenger hunt for you. If you can find all the items, I'll give you the image file. And what if I can't? Well, grad's in 6 hours. If you don't complete the game by then what? Then I'll post the picture online and everyone will know the truth. Better hurry, Miles. Your future's at stake. Hello? What do I have to do? Go to St. Mark's Elementary School, parking lot. Good luck, Wonder Boy. And from there, Miles is sent on a scavenger hunt of every terrible misdeed he has committed in his past and made to deal with it. And he has to decide whether or not his secret is worth keeping secret. And that's all.
For the specific challenges of taking it down to a reading level, because we wouldn't pick off necessarily when you're writing that's at a grade 2 reading level.
Simplifying the sentences down even more. They're shorter, less complicated. Sometimes when you have a first person, you want to have that sort of stream of consciousness kind of narrative voice at times. And as a writer, you start rolling with it and running away with it. But then you need to go back and break it up and make it simpler and easier to follow. So that was sort of challenging, was keeping the construction of the voice in simpler sentences.
And
I
Megan,
think also for me, one of the challenges, these anchor books are quite short. So having a full story where it has the full scope of character development and everything within this very tight length was a really cool challenge to take on.
and Gail, I'm going to ask you this one. What do you love about writing a high-low?
Oh, I don't even know where to start. I think the most rewarding thing is doing events with the audience that they're targeted for. So I've been writing these for about 17 years altogether. And I started out writing ones for adults. So they were books written at a lower vocabulary level or a lower grade level, but for adults. So doing that was quite challenging. But for many of the readers that I was meeting, this would be the first book that they had ever read. So it was an introduction into reading. So that's been huge for me. Just the whole process of writing high-low is very, very different. The first book I wrote actually took me a full year, even though it was only, I think, 12,000 words. So I had to learn how to do it. And so it's extremely different from writing literary books or commercial books. So the whole process, I've gotten to know it. and love it. And as you said earlier, it can be much faster once you really understand how you can pull them together. You can write a book in a month, and that's satisfying too, right? So there's so many things I love about writing high-low, and again, I've got that blog up which actually talks about some of that as well, and how to go about the process of actually writing them.
One more question for everyone, because we said we keep it short and sweet. What's your favorite Cher song, if you can choose?
What's that one she did in the 90s?
Believe?
That's the one.
You're not going to stump me.
Yeah, I'll agree with that one. Yeah, I'll go with that one too.
Brooke, do we want to take a deep track?
Maybe if I could turn back time, or
Oh,
the
yeah.
one, the Jesse James one.
When you can straddle and Airship's canon
Yeah.
and sing, I'm like, well, you've made it.
Yeah.
So before we go, let's invite everyone to the next high-low event with some brand new Orca authors. So there is their books. It's Jean Mills, Wingman, Sylvia Takema, Big Winner, Allison Finley, Below the Surface, and C.A. Tanaka, Baby Drag Queen. You can say hello to their high-lows on April 13th at 8 p.m. It will be another nice, short, to the point event. And there's the lineup for the season. There's all our books. Grab a high-low and then get into reading some of the back catalog because they're great.